Welcome back, students. Today I will give you some important, urgent and useful tips on active and passive voice. With the help of these tips, you can easily score full marks in voice change. The tips will lessen your troubles and tension in the exam hall. Watch this video and see all your fears and tears will be completely out. So our day's topic is important and useful exam tips on active voice and passive voice. I wish you enjoy your learning. Now go to the main points. Important exam tips on active and passive voice. My students sometimes ask me a few questions about the active and passive voice. They face some problems when they learn this. I will share all these questions with you along with their solutions. Okay? The first question is, sir, can every sentence be changed into a passive voice? The answer is no. You can't change every active voice into a passive voice. No, you can't. Because to change an active voice to passive voice, the sentence must have an object, real or cognate object. Otherwise, passive voice is not possible. So, an active voice without any real or cognate objects cannot be changed into a passive voice. That means an active voice must have an object, whether real object or cognate object. Then you can change that active voice into passive voice. Otherwise, you can't change that active voice into passive voice. Okay? So, an active voice without any real or cognate object cannot be changed into a passive voice. So, whenever you get any sentence in the exam hall or anywhere, first see the sentence has any object or not. Object means the object must be real object or any cognate object. If the sentence has any object, then you can change the active voice into passive voice. You can change the sentence from active voice to passive voice. And if there is no object, the sentence cannot be changed. See the example. He runs. No object is here. No object is here written. He runs. So no object, so you cannot change it into a passive voice. Next one, he laughs. No object is here. So the voice of this sentence cannot be changed. So no passive voice is possible here. But he runs a race. A race is an object. It is called a cognate object. What is a cognate object? The object which is made from the verb itself. Run, race. The same thing. So he runs a race. Cognate object is there. So this active voice can be changed into passive. See, a race is run by him. Passive voice. Next one you see, he writes a letter. Real object. A letter is the real object. He writes a letter. So you can change the voice from active to passive. A letter is written by him. Passive voice. Okay, one note is here. No other type of objects is used in the passive voice. Only two types of object are used in passive voice, and they are cognate object and real object. No other type is used in the passive voice. Okay. Now another problem, another question. What is the question? When we get two objects, how can I change the voice, sir? That means which object will be used first? Which object will be used first? See, if the active voice has two objects, one is direct object and the other one is indirect object. Always begin your passive voice with the indirect object. and retain. Retain means keep, and retain the other object. Okay, if no special instruction is given in the question, always begin your passive voice with the indirect object and keep the other object direct as it is. As the other object is retained, it is called a retained object. Now see the example. He gave me a book. Active voice with two objects, number one object and number two object. Number one object is me. It is called indirect object or animate object, and number two is called direct object or inanimate object. So if there is no special instruction in the question, always begin a passive voice with the indirect object. Indirect object, me, will come to the place of subject in the form of I. So the sentence is, I was given a book by him. This is the passive voice, and a book, this is the object. The direct object is retained here. As it is, for this it is called a retained object. It is called a retained object. Okay, so you got your answer. You have another question. The question my students frequently ask me, sir, in the passive voice, only the preposition by is used before the object. This is the question. You know here that by him, one by is coming everywhere, by him, here by him. So in the passive voice, sir, any other preposition can be used in place of by. This is the question. Or only this preposition is used at this place. Only by is not the preposition that is used before the object here. Other prepositions, so many other prepositions can be used here according to the relation between the verb and the object here. See the sentence and your concept will be clear. See the first voice, a letter was written by him. Okay, here by is used. It is the passive voice, a letter was written by him, But the next one you see, I am known to him, is the passive voice, but in the exam hall if you write, I am known by him, your answer is technically correct. You will get the full marks. But I will suggest to you that you should use I am known to him. I am known to him is accepted all over the world by usage. Usage is saying use to after known, though technically by after known is absolutely correct. So I am known to him. Here to is used in place of by. Next one, I am surprised at his talk. At is always used after surprised. No other preposition can take the place of at here. So remember, always use at after surprised. So the sentence is, I am surprised at his talk. Okay, so in place of by, at this place before the object at the end of the passive voice, by can be used, to can be used, at can be used, with can be used, some other preposition may be used. Okay, these prepositions must be used according to the appropriateness with the verb and the object, according to the relation between the verb and the object. Another question. Sir, two prepositions can be used side by side in a passive voice. Two prepositions can be used side by side in a passive voice. The answer is yes. Two prepositions side by side. See the example and your idea will be clear. They laughed at the boy. they laughed at the boy. Okay, this is a phrasal verb. With the addition of this, the intransitive verb laugh became transitive here. So this is the part of this verb. Don't look at this as a preparation. So there is no preparation. It is a phrasal verb. It is a group verb. Think this way and you will have no problem. They laughed at the boy. They laughed at the boy. Okay, and your passive voice will be the boy was laughed at by them. By, as it is by them, and at is grouped with laughed. As it is the part of this verb, a phrasal verb, a group verb, so it is in a group with laughed. So the boy was laughed at by him. This preparation must be written. This preparation must be written. Never forget this. If you forget this, your answer will be wrong. The two preparations can be used side by side and there is no problem in it. One question and its answer you have got, and here you have got the answer with two objects and a retained object, and here you have got the question with the preparation or different preparations at the place by. Here you have got the question with different preparation used before the object at the end in a passive voice. Okay, and at the beginning the question was whether every sentence can be changed into passive voice or not. Okay, now see, the most important part is how the auxiliary verbs are chosen in the passive voice. The most important question. The question is about the choice of auxiliary verbs in the passive voice. Sir, how can I understand which auxiliary verb or verbs will be used before the verb in the passive voice? This is the question. What is the question? Sir, how can I understand which auxiliary verb or verbs will be used before the verb in the passive voice? Very, very interesting question. The active voice has do or does. For that do or does, use am, is, are. Or if the active voice has the present tense verb without any auxiliary verb, the passive voice will get one am or is or are before the verb. Okay, what is the condition? So if you get do or does in the given sentence or a present tense verb without any auxiliary verb, then in the passive voice use either am or is or are as per need of the number and person of the subject. Okay, now see the example, then you can understand. He writes a letter. See, no auxiliary, and the verb is the present tense form. He writes a letter. So the condition is, if you get a present tense verb form, you will get one am or is or are as is necessary according to the number and person of the object used here. Here a letter is the third person singular number for this is used here. So the answer is a letter is written by him. You have got the auxiliary verb is. If you remember this, there will be no problem. Number 2, see, he does not write a letter. You have got does. Does means is. Does in the passive voice is equal to is. So a letter is. Does not, it is here does not, here it is a letter is not written by him. Does becomes is and not is there. A write will become a written, and this is the common pattern by him. So letter is not written by him. You have got is here for does. Remember this, very interesting. And see this here, Does he write a letter? Again does. Does means I just said. Does means is. Does means is in the passive voice. See, does is. A letter, you know, letter will come here from this place to this place, and this one is the verb. It will be the past participle form. So the passive voice is a letter written by you. So you have got your answer, that if you get do or does, for do or does you will get one am or is or are according to the number and person of the subject used here. And or if you get a present tense verb without any auxiliary verb, there also you can get am or is or are, and these examples have supported this. Okay, now go to the next point and see what is there. If the active voice has did, do or does is equal to is in the passive voice. So did is equal to was and were in the passive voice. So if the active voice has did or a past tense verb without any auxiliary, the passive voice will get was or were before the main verb. Read again. If the active voice has one did, or if the active voice has a past tense verb without any auxiliary, the passive voice in that case will get either was or were before the main verb. See the example and the point will be clear. First one, he wrote a letter. Wrote, a past tense verb without any auxiliary. So you are going to have either one was or were. See, he wrote a letter, no auxiliary. So it is a past tense. So you will get was or were. See, a letter is a third person singular number. So was. A letter was written by him. Okay. Next example. He did not write a letter. Did. Did means in the passive voice past tense was or were. Here it is was, as the letter is the third person singular number. So did became was. A letter was not written by him. So your answer is a letter was not written by him. For did you got was. And the next question, did he write a letter? Again, a letter, for the did became was. Was a letter written by him? So in a sentence, if you get do or does, you will get am or is or are in the passive voice. If you get did, so in the passive voice you will get was or were. If you get a present tense verb like this without any auxiliary, in the passive voice you will get one am or is or are. If you get a past tense verb without any auxiliary, in the passive voice you will get was or were as your auxiliary. Okay. So now another question. If the active voice is in the continuous tense, the passive voice will get one being before the main verb. He was writing a letter. Writing, continuous tense. Okay, so which continuous tense you need not know, but just a continuous tense. For the continuous tense you will get one being in the passive voice before the verb in the past participle form. See here, a letter is the object, so it came here, a letter, and was is here, take was, a letter was. As it is the continuous tense, you will get one being before the main verb. So I have taken one being. So the answer is a letter was being written by him. Remember, this being is used for the verb of the continuous tense, for the ing form of the verb like this. Okay. See here, it is for the perfect tense. If the active voice has, have, has or had, the passive voice will get one been before the main verb. If the active voice has, have or has or had, the passive voice will get one been before the main verb. Okay. See the example. He has written a letter. He had written a letter. Anything, or have or has or had. If you get this in the given sentence, you will get one been in the passive voice. See here. A letter has, here has. A letter had, here had. Okay. So letter has been, because has is there. So one been will come. A letter has been written by him. A letter has been written by him. Very, very easy point. If you get in your sentence have or has or had, you need not remember that this is a perfect tense. You just see whether your sentence has this or this or this or not. If you get them, immediately use been without any hesitation, without any question, and your answer will be 100% correct. There will be no problem. Okay. Now see another point. If the active voice has any of these auxiliaries, that means either this or this, this or this, this or this or this or this. If the active voice has this, the passive voice will get one be before the main verb. Okay, see the example and your idea will be totally clear. He will write a letter. You have got will. So in the passive voice you will get one be. Blandly you can say. And see your passive voice. A letter will. Will is here, will was here. So will came here. So a letter will. Immediately be came. A letter will be, and it is the past participle of the verb written by him. You know, the same example I am using again and again so that you can understand the difference clearly. The next example, see. He can write a letter. Again can. Can means in the passive verb it will be can be. I said. So a letter can, you have got be written by him. A letter can be written by him. Very, very easy. Next one. He should write a letter. Should. You have got should. That means in the passive voice you will get one be. So a letter should be written by him. So if you get will, can, should, would, could, might, shall, in the passive voice you will get one be always. Now about the imperative sentences. Okay, you know, I think two types of imperative sentences are there. One type of imperative sentence is there that has an object. For imperative sentences with objects, and another type of imperative sentence is there that has no object. So the first kind is imperative sentence with objects, and the second kind is type is imperative sentences without object. And for the imperative sentences with objects, the syntax means the structure of the passive voice is first use let, then use the object, then one be, then the past participle of the verb, then the object. Actually it is the subject, but it is the subject in the form of object. By subject, by subject means by the object, subject in the objective form. Okay, by the subject in the object place or form. Okay, so the first use let, then an object, then the be, then past participle of the verb, then by, then subject in the object place or in the object form. See the example. Do the work. The work is the object, and the structure syntax is saying take one let. So one let is taken here. So let, then the object the work, let the work, then one be. See, the be is signing here. So be is signing here also. So let the work be, and this is the verb, past participle of the verb. This is the verb. So past participle of the verb do is done. So let the work be done by you. It is understood. Do the work means you do the work. For this it is written by you for your understanding. So do the work means let the work be done. Okay. Next example. See, the sentence itself has one let. Let him do the work. Okay, no problem. Just divide the sentence this way and work with this first. Do the work. That means let the work be done. Let the work be done. This part is done. Do the work. You have learnt that do the work. Passive will be let the work be done. Now come to this. This one will go to the end with by him. So your passive voice is let the work be done by him. Okay, this is the syntax for the imperative sentences with objects. Now see the syntax for the imperative sentences that have no objects, without objects. For the imperative sentences without object, see the syntax, the passive voice structure. Okay, use subject, am is are, the requested or ordered or advised or directed or instructed or asked. Okay, here this is the syntax for the imperative sentences without object. If the sentence has no object, then use this syntax. Remember this, I am repeatedly telling you, if the sentence has no object. If the sentence has object, use this syntax, the syntax with let. If the imperative sentence has any object, use the first syntax, the syntax that begins with let. And if the imperative sentence doesn't have any object, then use the second syntax, the syntax that begins with subject, then am or is or are, then this one requested if it is a requested, reordered if it is the order, advice if it is an advice, directed if it is a direction, and instructed if it is an instruction, and asked if it is nothing of this kind. Okay, so see the example and your idea will be clear. Come here. See, no object is here. Come here. So your answer will be you are asked to come here. If it is said to you, then it will be you. If it is said to him, then it will be he. Then in that case it will be he is asked to come here. If it is said to them, then at this place it will be they. Then the answer will be they are asked to come here. Okay, see the next example. Wait here. The same things. If it is said to you, then you will be used. You are requested to wait here. So you have got the answer to your question, sir. when can we use you are requested to this form and when can we use the let form? The answer is, if the sentence has any object, use the let form or let syntax, and if the imperative sentence has no object, then use the you are requested to this form. Okay. Now, some special type of imperative sentence in the passive voice. They are almost always used in the passive voice. See this. Notice the following active passive voices. See, have the tent put up. That means have the tent put up by your workers or by some people. It is passive, and this sentence is generally used in passive voice. Okay, so have the tent put up is a passive voice, and its active voice is put up the tent. Remember this. This type of sentence begins with either have or get. Okay, have the tent put up, passive voice, and its active form is put up the tent, active voice. And see this one, get your hair cut, passive voice, cut your hair. This is the active voice. Get your cycle repaired. This is the passive voice. Get your, see this one, get your cycle repaired. Get your cycle repaired. This is the passive voice, and its active form is repair your cycle. Repair your cycle. This is the active form of the voice. Get your cycle repaired. Okay, get your house whitewashed. Get your box painted. Okay. Now one question is there. The question is about the application of passive voice. The question is, can the passive voice be used anywhere, everywhere, in any paragraph, in any writing? Can I use the passive voice, sir? This is the question. Okay. No, you can't. The answer is, see the question, when the passive voice be used, can the passive voice be used anywhere? The answer is, when no particular or specific subject is available. Who is doing the work is the subject. If you don't get any particular subject, the person doing the work, the passive voice is used. When no particular subject is available, passive voice is used only in that case. But when the subject is specific, particular, you know who is doing the work, then passive voice is not allowed. No passive voice is allowed in English language. If you use the passive voice in your writing, in that case where there is the specific or particular subject, the sentence will lose its status. The composition will lose its gravity. Okay, so when no particular or specific subject is available, passive voice is used. But when the subject is specific or particular, no passive voice is allowed. Then active voice is used. See the example, then your idea will be clear. He plays cricket. See, who plays cricket? He plays cricket. He, particular subject. Clear. No problem about who the person is, who is playing cricket. Here he. So when you get this type of particular specific subject, never use cricket is played by him. Should not be used in the practical field, though it may be given in the exam hall. It may be given in the question paper to test whether you can change the active voice to passive voice. But in the practical field, in your writing, you cannot use this type of sentence. If you use your composition, your writing will lose its importance, its gravity, its stature. Okay, now see this example. Cricket is played in India. Cricket is played in India. Isn't it very interesting? No specific subject is here. Who is playing cricket in India? No specific Ram, Sham, John, David. No. The subject is the general people. The subject is the general people. Anyone living in India plays cricket. For this it is said, cricket is played in India. The subject is the general people. In this case, active voice should not be used in the practical field. Only passive voice is permitted. Only passive voice is allowed. Okay. So, very important point that when no particular subject is there, use passive voice. When particular subject is there, use active voice. Next question about the quasi-passive verbs. Important point and interesting also and easy also. See the quasi-passive. Quasi-passive means half passive. See, the mango tastes sweet. Quasi-passive. This is quasi-passive. The mango tastes sweet. And its active voice is the mango is sweet when it is tasted. The mango is sweet when it is tasted. Remember this way. Then you will have no problem in your exam hall. The cover feels rough. The cover feels rough. Quasi-passive voice. The cover is rough when it is felt. The cover is rough when it is felt. This is the active voice. Active voice. Okay. So these two sentences are the model of the quasi-passive verbs and the active, they are active verbs. Quasi-passive voice and their active voice. Okay. Now one warning that double passive should not be used in a sentence. Double passive in a sentence should not be used to avoid confusion of meaning. To avoid confusion in the meaning. The meaning sometimes may be dangerous. So no need of using the double passive in a sentence. Remember this, memorize it. Double passive should not be used in a sentence. It creates confusion in the meaning. See the example. The spy was ordered by him to be shot. Passive voice. To be shot passive and was ordered passive. It is called double passive. It is not allowed. It is not allowed. Okay. Instead, use this. He ordered. Use the active voice in this situation. He ordered the spy to be shot. He ordered the spy to be shot. Okay. The reference is taken from the famous book of P.K. de Sarkar. Okay. Now, the last but not the least point is the point about the passive voice in a complex sentence. What is said here? Change the voice of the clauses one by one separately, and you will get the whole work done. See the example. He said that the boy was known to all. He said that the boy was known to all. This is a complex sentence consisting of two clauses. Number one clause, he said, this is a principal clause, and number two, that the boy was known to all. This is the subordinate clause. Okay. So you have got this one, this clause, cut this here and change this first. Means it was said by him. Okay, he came here as by him, and it came here, and it is a past tense form verb. It is the past tense verb without any auxiliary. So you have got one auxiliary was. So it was said by him. Now come to this one, that here, use that here. Now the boy was known to all. Okay, all, generally all comes to the subject form as everyone or everybody. So everybody, it is a passive voice. Was will be out. We got was because the original verb was the verb in the past tense without any auxiliary. For this one was taken, so use knew for was known. The everyone knew the boy. This is the object. So everyone knew the boy. This is the active voice, and the boy was known to all. This is the passive voice. Here he said is active voice. It was said by him, the passive voice. So this is a complex sentence consisting of two clauses. One is the principal clause, the other one is the subordinate clause. The principal clause here is in the passive voice, while the subordinate clause is in the active voice. In the original sentence, the principal clause was in the active voice and the subordinate clause was in the passive voice. One clause is active voice and the other clause is passive voice. Next one, another example. It is said, passive voice, principal clause, that they have done the work. That they have done the work is the active voice, subordinate clause. So it is said by whom? By people or by them. I have taken people as the subject. So it is said by people. So people say, active voice, it is said is the passive, and people say is the active of it. So people say, that is here as it is as the connective. So people say that. Now this one, they have done the work. Have, you have got, so you will get one been before the past participle of the verb. So this is the object. The work has, third person singular number, for this it is has, and for have or has, one been will be used. So you have got one been. So the work has been done by them. This is the answer, and the answer is people say that the work has been done by them. Okay, one active voice and other passive voice in a complex sentence. All these points have been discussed with a lot of examples and details in different parts of the videos on voice change in my channel. Go to the playlist of the channel and you will get all the videos of voice change there. Very carefully kept. Watch them one by one if you want much more discussion and details about the active and passive voice. Besides, you will get a lot of other videos there on grammar. You can watch them and learn by yourself. I am uploading new videos regularly in my channel. So follow the channel, subscribe and hit the bell for the instant notification. Share the video with your friends and relatives. Don't forget to give your likes when you finish the video. Okay students, this much today. I'll soon come back with another important lesson for you. So stay attached, stay tuned. Thank you for your patience and participations. See you soon.